Welcome to Long Run Lactic, a running media concept devoted to cultivating, documenting, and curating the beauty of finding fitness. From the infancy of our first steps to the conquest of a race won, we all have a story to tell. I'm your host, Bernard England. And if you watched the 2024 U.S. Olympic team trial in the marathon on February 3rd, then you, like millions of others, were probably trying to figure out, who is Jess McClain? Well, today we get that answer, as I had the opportunity to sit down with Jess in the days leading to the trials. The former Stanford Cardinal turned Brooks Beast was first a 7-time All-American racing distances of the 1500, 5K, and 10K. But now, Jess is living her best life residing in her home state of Arizona. Unsponsored and unfazed by the stress of it all, Jess McClain, formerly Jess Ton, has embraced her marathon era and is officially the 2024 U.S. Olympic Marathon Team Ultimate. Watch and listen as Jess details going from Mai Tais to marathon, her pre-trials training, and why she feels, even as an unsponsored athlete, she's getting the most out of the sport. Let's get into it. All right, we are here in beautiful, sunny now, Phoenix/Scottsdale, Arizona, with the wonderful Jess Ton. Jess, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Wonderful. I feel like I'm doing a little better knowing that I don't have to run a full marathon in about a week, so
Fair enough.
you know, it's good.
Yeah.
How's the week been treating you? How's Arizona? How's the weather treating you in preparation?
It's been great. As an Arizona native, I love a solid rain streak. So the last 4 days to me, just life-wise, has been awesome. We love the rain here.
As a native East Coaster, I kind of like the rain, but this 75 degrees and the rest of the country's on ice it's kind of nice. This is very nice.
This is why people live here and move here. But no, it's been great. Work is dying down. No complaints there. Important heading into next week, but life is good. Just, all the hard work's behind me. So now we're just easing in to the taper and heading out a week from yesterday.
Yeah. So you mentioned work, and that's one of the many reasons why I asked you to come on, because I think your story is very similar to many, in the sense that once the race is over, win, lose, or draw, whether we're going to the games or not, real world kicks right back in the day after. So, that in and of itself is very, very commendable. But before we even get there, let's back up. Like, who's Jess Ton, the Arizona native? There's not many here. So you're unique in and of that. So where'd you go to high school? Where'd you go to college? Like, what's your background?
Yeah, so I did grow up here. Went to Xavier College Prep.
The Xavier.
The XCP. And then was there until 2010 and went to Stanford. Was there until 2015, ran all 5 years through a 5th year there, majored and minored in communications. So I dove right into that. Also, simultaneously going into my professional running career, always felt it was important to, carpe diem on my amazing academic experience at Stanford and my major there. So I've always been in the marketing industry since 2015.
Stanford education's doing well.
Yeah, you can't go wrong there. Very fortunate to have run as well as I did as a high school kiddo to get into Stanford. I always joke because the coach recruiting me at the time, Jason Dunn, he'd call me and be like, Jess, can you please try and take the ACT one more time? Just one more time. And I'm like, Coach, I'll try. Like, I'll give it my darndest. But I was just riding at that same, I can't remember what even my scores were, but it's no secret, and I don't deny it, that running didn't help get me where I am, and I'm very thankful to that.
Yeah.
And then ran professionally for Brooks up until the end of 2018. Moved back here early 2019. And then
right before the pandemic.
Right before the pandemic. Good time to move back to Arizona, I guess. So
yeah. Now, what was your specialty in high school and in college? What was your bread and butter?
Bread and butter. Gosh, I love the high school days, because when you think back, it's like you're doing the 4x800, you're doing the medley relays, you're doing the 800, you're doing the mile, you're doing the 3200.
All in like a 2-hour span.
Oh my God, the state meet was like you lived at the track for 2 days straight and you just did everything, that you're like, put me in, coach.
Yeah.
I do remember loving the 1600 and 3200. I remember loving cross country. Which I think, obviously the roads are very different than cross now, but I think I've always had that innate love for cross or for courses that are just not our track oval.
Right.
I love the
A true
track,
cross-country course.
but I love how when you're racing a cross course or on the roads, it's just about competing. And yeah, and then I get to college, ran pretty well on the track. I think I had the top collegiate time in the 10,000 for a little bit, Pac-12 champ. I loved the 10K once I got to it. It did take a while. I had a few coaches at Stanford. And, once I had Coach Melt for a few years, he was so good at developing, your short-term talent and really tapping into everything you could give while also having your longevity of your
what do you want to
career.
do after we leave here?
Yeah, so, but it was really important to me to try the 10K, and I think Pac-12s was in it used to be the Pac-10 and Pac-12 no longer, which is so sad. But it was always such a great meet we had such great competition in the Pac-12. And I remember the first time I did win my first championship race was when Coach Mild, he's like, all right, let's try and be as conservative as possible and then just let it rip the last mile. Let's try to win this thing. And I just love how many things can happen in a 10K. I also love shorter races because you have less time to think, but I feel like with the 10, it's like more things can happen. You have more time to respond.
What's your 10K? I was an 8 and 15. I am an 8 and 15 guy. So what's your 10K tactic? Right. I'm probably going to jump into 10K at some point, but as a 10K racer, I feel like, do you fall asleep the first 5K and just wait for the race to come to you?
It honestly feels like, when you think about the women I raced against, like Emma Bates and Sisson and Infeld, Dom Scott, a lot of the women who are here training right now. I mean, it was a race from the gun. It felt like an extended 5K all the time. So it was about getting to the point of the race where it turns into that last 3K or like the last 1500 race and make sure that you're still in it and you still have something to give. So I think it was more about getting out of my head, leading into that moment of the race. And then the moment a move is made, like covering that move and just being really present and engaged.
Fitness is so real.
Yeah, I have not run a 10K in a very long time. I did like a road 10K here, Turkey Trot or something, and was very quickly reminded at how hard that distance is. But no, I joke. I always say, like, I don't know when I'll touch a track again, but I do always, I have, I think I was even talking to Katrina about this on one of our runs, that it'd be so fun to just like rip one 10K.
Jump on. There's one on, what is it, March 16th, sound the 10. Jump on the track.
Might be a little too
going.
soon. I've got a lot of fun activities planned for the trials.
That's
after
fair.
that,
That's
so
fair.
I don't know
You need some down to some celebration time.
Yeah, we've got the Waste Management Open in Cabo all in a few weeks' time, so not good for 10K training.
That's a good 3-week binge. That's a nice 3-week binge.
Yeah.
So after college, tell me what is high school Jess turns college Jess, and I think most college runners can attest to this. You kind of find yourself in those college days. You figure out what it means to be a runner, and you kind of become a student of the sport in those college days. Even if you thought you were a student of the sport in high school, I can tell you from my personal experience, you didn't know anything until you actually got into the college ranks, right? So what was it like becoming a pro and experiencing like pro life for you?
That's a good question. I will say though, as a high schooler, my butt was at practice by 5 a.m. every day. So
well, we're in Arizona.
Yeah, so. It was, even in the winter, I had coaches who just, that's what, we believed in, getting up early, getting it done. It did instill a lot of discipline in us from a very young age. And when you're in high school, it's like most of the time your parents are driving you to practice, your first few years. So, and I love my high school coaches. I owe a lot to them. Shout out to Dave Bansickle, who's actually retiring this year after 33 years of coaching at Xavier.
Shout out Dave.
Yeah, crazy. But as a pro, you learn so much in college too, like balancing. It sounds, you hear this a lot, but like balancing academics, trying to figure out how to live without the guidance of your, I was fortunate to have parents who were very involved, and awesome growing up, and moving away from home. And I also had a great I had a great team that I was going into, and at Stanford we did a preseason cross country camp, so you're already going into college having that network, which is very awesome.
The camaraderie, the friendship is already there to kind of build
on. But you definitely have to learn how to prioritize and time manage, and I think at Stanford it's a very I did a good job of not letting like the academic pressure really weigh me down, but I had teammates and friends who are in these majors where you just like can't slip up.
Yeah.
And at some point, after a lot of discussions with Coach Milt, I knew I wanted to try and go pro and that I could. So to say I gave less to my academics wouldn't be fair to how hard I did work, but I did definitely go all in on running like fifth year, which was really fun to do that. And with pro running, that was like probably the biggest shock ever. It's so glorified. And it was kind of like, even when we were coming out of college, like, yes, it was a thing and there were established brands and teams, obviously, but like now I love how much it's kind of what it looks like is kind of shifted, and there's so many different ways to do it. But then it was like, you go to these 5 teams
and that's it.
And that's kind of it. And, gosh, I learned so much through my professional running stint in Seattle. And I think like it's helped me so much as just like a young professional, like not even running wise, like just in life. And
how so?
I think, you're kind of, you move to, and I've never like moved for a job, so that's outside of running, but like, I graduated, moved to Seattle.
Pacific Northwest is not the same as the desert, so that.
Yeah, definitely a weather climate shock there. After moving back here, I realized like how much that probably did affect me. Living in the rain, I just don't think I'm meant for that. But had great teammates. Had to kind of learn how to work. I guess I didn't really understand until I left how much of a job it was. Like, you go and you leave college and like that's your team, that's your family, and when you're running professionally, it's like, yes, you can be a part of a team, which is, I think there's such a strength in numbers. But again, it's like, how can you run your best and be your best in, a team setting like that? And how do you advocate for yourself while working alongside people who are extremely different and just have different goals and different approaches to the sport,
different parts of their life.
Different points of their lives. Like we had some people on the team who were married, some who are fresh out of college, and
two different lifestyles.
I think it's so cool to be in a close knit, like a pack like that, and just have to be there for each other and lift each other up when things are not going great. I mean, our sport can be so brutal with injuries and whatnot. But no, it definitely made me tougher, and it made me realize what I mostly how to advocate for myself and what I want, and know how I can best perform, whether that's running or whether that is in a work environment. I just left, sometimes you leave an environment and you regret it, or you're pissed about what happened. And I honestly am thankful for my time in Seattle. I learned so much and have some of my best friends ever that came out of that experience. But I did realize that a team environment like that, where I can't dictate where I live, or how, certain parts of my training, it just like wasn't for me. And I love, my brain likes to work in different realms throughout the day. Like, I'm not a one-track runner. So finding balance has always been huge. So I think I finally found that. I mean, I'm almost 32. It took a while, but
no, well, that's the beauty of
better
running.
late than ever.
Like
so
it's not football or any other sport where the longevity of of your career is very short. Especially you're probably done in your 20s. Anyone makes it through their 30s, or I guess now 40s for some, have to play certain positions as a runner. You can kind of keep going. So I asked the pro question because you're kind of a unique specimen in the sense that you kept that common thread, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, of that love for running all the way through. Like, we're going high school, we're going college, we became a pro, and now we're past the phase of what the old school professional like stigma looked like, but we're still going, right? Like, we're still going for a team, right? We're still pushing forward. So that, like, what is that? Like, I mean, we could always say that's perseverance, that's dedication, but for you, what does that look like?
I think I'm running now because I love it. Like that, I'm purely running for the joy of it. Obviously, like, marathon training is freaking hard. There are days where I don't love it. But especially moving back, it's like, man, I'm running the same routes I did when I was like first starting out as a 12-year-old, and running on the, sneaking onto the golf courses early that I used to when I was in high school, and running there. And it's like, I just feel like I'm running because I love it. And I'm not running because it's a means to an end for me. Like, I was fortunate that it was my full-time job for a little bit, but I realized that I'm not going to get the most out of the sport or myself if it is.
Yeah.
So it's like, you said this earlier, like, okay, win, lose, or draw, real life starts again after the trials. And that's literally why I love doing it this way, because it's like my parents and whole family and husband are coming to watch me because they love me and they're excited to see what ends up happening. But like, I can step away having the best day of my life or a tough day, and it's like, okay, I've got my job when I get home, I have my dog and my family, and none of that's going to change, and there's just zero pressure anymore, and it's just so cool. And I'm fortunate. It's like, I worked hard on and off the track essentially up until this point. So it's like, I can have also a job that I love. And I love that approach. And I see people like Kira D'Amato and so many other women who have like full on families. It's like, I'm not there yet, but like, I can only imagine what it's like to have job, running, kids. Like, it's amazing. And like, even Elle Purrier has a little kiddo now, and Rachel, Schneider Smith. It's like, it's so cool to see these women having kids and crushing it. And that gives me hope, because I'm like, I literally can't even like picture myself being like that and bouncing back, but seeing them do it, it's like, okay, now you've got a little cheerleader waiting for you at the end of the
as soon as you
line.
get as soon as you get done, look to the stands, or at this point, some of these kids are so fast, they'll probably start running that too.
Probably coming out of the womb like but no, my advice always to young athletes is like, I mean, obviously listen to the people who love you, and but also follow what your gut's telling you. And I think now, especially leaving college, now with NIL deals and stuff, like, college probably looks so much different than it did when I was there.
It's wild.
And that's a whole different pressure now that I can't even imagine having. But no, there's just so many different ways to approach the sport and be an amazing track or, road or cross country athlete. And I think that's so cool. Like, figure out what works for you. And
it's just beautiful to me because our mutual friend, Katie Spradford, shout out Spratty. We have many a conversation. We talk very often, almost too much, because we'll see each other for hours and then call each other the second we'll leave each other. But a conversation that always comes up is, as we move forward and this journey of running, you start learning how much it was your identity at a certain point.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Totally.
And now we've learned how much nicer it is, and almost much more beneficial, that as big of a part of running is in our lives, it cannot be your whole identity. I think agree. You embrace that so well, where it's like, you can almost see when it was all of my identity, it didn't work as well as now that I've realized balance. You said this earlier, right? Like, that balance really, and when we tell the kids that we coach this, they don't understand. You have some kids on one side of the spectrum that are just like they're diehards, and the others that don't care, but those that are balanced seem to do extremely well. So that part, that I love that. So
I do too.
Question. If you could talk to high school Jess, Jess that's now moving through the ranks and going on to an Olympic trials for a marathon, what are you saying to 12-year-old Jess running down Exeter, running down Lafayette Boulevard?
Oh man, honestly, I think she had a way better approach to all this than I did for a while. I would just say, like, keep having fun. Don't be so nervous for freaking Foot Locker Nationals or Pac-12 championships or the NCAAs, because I would literally get to the point where I would be so nervous that I would not sleep the night before. I could barely eat. I started psyching myself out towards the latter half of high school, and I think it's because I started to have success and I saw how good I could be and what that would mean if I kept it up. And I think the pressure just got so, it was completely self-inflicted. Like,
Yeah.
it was like everybody around me was so great and it was totally self-inflicted. So I think, and it's not so much like, don't be nervous. Like, I think having nerves is great. And we always hear like being nervous means you care. But I think it's like, don't put yourself through something that might not happen. Like, odds that the race blows up and this happens or that happens. Like, don't put yourself through something that's not going to happen, or put yourself through something twice. Like, okay, maybe you do have a crappy race. Fine. Close the book, learn from it, move on. But I would just say keep having fun. Enjoy like the small moments with your teammates. I think it's all the small moments that, through high school, college, pro running, that were like the most fun. Like the moments in between, But yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. I guess that's what I'd say.
All right, 12-year-old Jess is now older Jess. She's running the 2024 Olympic Trials Marathon.
Mm-hmm.
What does the night before look like for you now?
Night before the marathon.
Yeah, what does that stress and that anxiety look like for you now?
I'll definitely be nervous, but the good nerves. I think it'll mostly be excitement. For my first marathon, I always think back to my first marathon. I ended up running the Mesa Marathon here.
Yeah.
I ran it in 2022. I think it was, basically almost a year ago, because I wanted to run a marathon before I turned 30. But I decided that right after my honeymoon and the holidays, about 6 weeks before Mesa. So I'm like, okay, time to get the Mai Tais out of the system and start training for this if I want to do it.
Mai Tais to marathon.
Mai Tais to marathon. So I entered and I was like, you know what? I'll run under Jess McClain. Nobody has to know it's me if it goes super crappy. Like, hey, at least we tried and it was fun.
That was your alias. Your married name is now the alias.
Super sneaky.
Yeah.
But oh my God, I barely trained. I bought my shoes because lead times were still weird from COVID.
Yeah.
So I had ordered shoes. I won't say from which companies, but they literally just kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed. And so I went to Dick's Sporting Goods at Fashion Square the night before at 7 p.m. before they closed to buy a pair of, Nike Vaporflies. And
you had Vaporflies the night before?
Night before. Because I literally didn't have racing shoes. Like I was just doing stuff in trainers and, just doing the best with what I had. And then morning of, I cannot tell you how little gels I packed. I brought 0. I ate a bar before the race.
You really just went all in? Just
put my favorite playlist in, wore a sports bra with a little pocket for my phone. I just let it rip, and it was so fun. I had 2 bathroom stops because I didn't know what I was doing. I took maybe 2 waters and I ran 2:33. So I was like,
you do realize that's crazy.
I do. But you know what? That's literally what I'm going to think about the night before the trials, because I'm like, nothing can feel worse than that race. Yeah. And I couldn't have been less prepared, and I still had fun. I hit a wall and was running 6:10s and this whole time I thought I was running the Olympic qualifying standard without knowing that Mesa was not a qualified, a designated qualified course. I mean, I knew nothing. I'm like, I'm going to run this standard. This will be great.
In fairness, you didn't know to bring water, so I'm sure you didn't know what the standard was.
I barely fueled. It was just it was so fun. But it was so fun. I had a blast. Went to the Bird's Nest 3 nights before, opening.
Yeah, the waste management
week. Just did everything wrong and had
living
the best
life.
time.
Jess is living the life.
I was doing it all. So yeah, I'll probably think about that race. My entire family's coming out. My aunt from my dad's side, my in-laws, brother, sister, mom, dad, all those in-laws, my brother, sister, my mom and dad. So I'm just gonna think of them, and I'm sure I'll lose some sleep just because I always do the night before. Try to really sleep well 2 nights out. But no, I'll be excited.
That's good. What's your prep like? What is your prep? Well, we met at a workout.
I know. We didn't get to talk very much.
I was not prepared for it all. I thought we were gonna, ease our way into it. A little 5:30, just kind of get slight, mile and a half. Maybe about a mile in, we might touch 5:40 or so. No, Jess takes off 5 flat, and we're just gonna hang. And I remember looking over at Katie thinking that you could have warned me. You told me something.
No.
So no, Jess works out pretty hard. It's like, yeah, you tell me this after we start. So what's prep like for you? Like, is that a good workout for you? Is that a good like prep? What's your last?
That was a good one. My last big one I did, like, it was kind of like a sandwich of a long run and a hard workout. I did like 6 miles at 6:30 down to 6 flat, and then did 4 miles around 5:20. I did 2 miles at like 5:15, and then ripped the last mile at like 4:56, I think.
That'll work.
For an 18-mile day. That was like my last hard one. But other than that, like, it's just been, I run 70 to 72 miles a week. Nothing crazy. One hard workout a week, one really quality long run. I've got, I work, and I have all these things going on outside of running. So I wanted to be mindful of like
having energy for everything else. Yeah.
I was supposed to run CIM for the marathon championships last year, and I was just doing everything wrong. Barely recovering, running way more mileage than I should have been. I was working weekends on my feet. I was prep cooking for a little bit for one of my favorite restaurants. So I would literally I would run 18 miles and then like shower, lay down for an hour, and then go prep cook until 4 p.m. And
you're not still doing that, right?
What, huh?
You're not still doing that.
No, I'm not. I do marketing for them, which is one of my favorite, they're amazing. Amazing people, amazing restaurant. If you ever are in Phoenix, go check out Perception.
Perception?
Say that. They're amazing. And then, I was barely fueling during runs. I'd like get my workout done early, get home, walk the dog, shower, get to work, and then eat when I got to my desk. And by then it's like 7:45.
Too late.
And I ended up getting hurt, and I was just like, okay, if I actually want to do this, like I got hurt it was our anniversary, November 13th last year, 2 years ago. But I was like, if I actually want to do this, I need to fully do it the way I need to do it. Channel that professional, aspects of the professional approach that I had in Seattle, really emphasizing recovery and fueling during. But in terms of training, it's like I love the distance, and I love distance running. So I just feel like I love it so much that like the dedication is not a problem, and the pain is like worth it on those workout days. So I don't know, I'm just having a blast, and I work out with Katie and my good friends Rosie and Julia, who have been like absolutely amazing. So just having a good support group is everything, and it's been great. Like we're all marathon training, but like, we have different strengths, and Rosie's always the best at being like, oh God, you look too good. Like, you just need to go. And then I know her strengths, so I'm like, you just need to go. So, and it's none of this, like, there's no weird energy, no bad vibes. Like, it's just it's amping each other up, and it's been great. It's been so fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
Rapid fire. You ready?
Yeah, I guess.
Coffee or tea?
Oh, coffee.
Coke or Pepsi?
Diet Coke. I grew up on Diet Coke.
Disgusting. A fartlek or a tempo?
Tempo.
10K or marathon?
Marathon, for sure.
15 or 5K?
Oh, that's so tough. Probably 5K.
Could have been friends.
I think I'm striking out here.
Arizona or Seattle?
Arizona. But Seattle, July through August or September sounds pretty great.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair, because I don't know if you'd say the same thing about like Arizona, May through like October. So
we earn our keep here, that's for sure. we earn this weather.
Red or blue?
I think blue.
Half tights or splits?
Okay, this is a funny one, because everybody that knows me knows I raced in shorts up until like literally recently. Huh?
What are shorts to you?
Like the split shorts.
Split shorts.
Yeah. And you're talking like the tight.
Yeah.
But now I'm like team tights. I don't know what happened.
How do you get team tights out of split shorts though?
I don't know.
Well, I just always wore splits for like
every
college competition.
Track. No, in pro, like everything. Like I wore split shorts for like a 1500. Like everything. I know. And now I'm like tights, because it's just less that's moving, and it's just, locks you in. It's does the job.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Pizza or pasta?
Oh, man. It depends where I'm eating.
Like, all right, so we're in Phoenix. We're in
okay.
Scottsdale. Where's the best pasta place first?
I love Trotto. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Owned by Chef Bianco, who also makes
the best
kick-ass pizza. Yeah. I will say the restaurant I work at, again, makes all of their pasta in-house. It's delicious. But I love both. I'll always eat both, but I think it just depends for me.
Where do you go for pizza?
Pizza, okay, so there's Via Della is really good by the slice. There is Pomo Pizzeria, which is also delicious. There's one at the Biltmore. Obviously, Pizzeria Bianco if you can get in. There's tons of good places, but those are probably the top ones I can think of off the top of my head.
That's fair. That's a little plug there for all the best restaurants in the area.
Yeah.
All right. You, in my opinion, are the epitome of what the Olympic trials are all about, especially when it comes to, the marathon. I would say many athletes are professional, and I love them to death.
Yeah.
Many athletes, that is the only thing they're doing, and I love that to death. But the nice thing about the Olympic trials for the marathons, more so than even the track a lot of times, is the amount of individuals that end up on the race line.
It's so cool.
And the amount of stories that are there, and the amount of people that, when they wake up in the morning, there's a laundry list that doesn't just have the run on the day.
Yeah.
I think you embody that perfectly. So if you're looking in the mirror at yourself, and you're looking in the mirror, and behind you see every runner that is not sponsored, also has to take care of their dog, also has a support team that is a support team half the day, and also wants you to just come lay down and not run the other half of the day.
Yeah.
What are you saying to that group of people? What are you saying to that person on the line next to you?
Oh, my God.
What are you saying to that 12-year-old girl that now is at the forefront of that?
Wow. God, I was in rapid fire mode, and then you come out of here with that, but I love it. Gosh, it's like, I love the roads because you get so many different stories, and you get people running for so many different reasons, different causes. They're out there having been motivated by like maybe something that happened in their life, or this is the first time they're ever running a road race. And I feel like with the marathon and the trials specifically, it's like, it's a feat just to get to the line healthy. So I think, that's what I've heard from most of the women that do this full time. It's like, that's half the battle, is just getting to the line. So I think, towing the line and being there is such a amazing accomplishment. And I think with the trials, it's like, this is my first Olympic trials. I was hurt. I was supposed to race in 2016 in the 5K, and then was running around Eugene, Oregon all day getting x-rays, trying to figure out what was going on with my shin. And I had to scratch and watch from the stands, and it literally was one of the crappiest moments of my life. So I just like, I've been in the moment where it was like so close to just compete, and I couldn't. So it's like, just carpe diem on the experience and soak it all in. It's like, we have 26 miles to soak it in. So I know that will happen. But no, I think it's just, run your heart out. It's going to get hard, but it's going to be so fun. And who knows, like, you never know what can happen in 2028. It's like, I thought I was going to be able to line up in 2020, and we had a freaking global pandemic. So it's like just enjoy it, and enjoy all the hard work that's gone into it. But yeah, I'm so excited. I can't wait.
Couldn't have said it myself. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sharing the story. Thank you for motivating everyone out there that has a similar story to you. And I'm excited to watch your race.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm glad we got to, of course, running would bring us together in the middle of a hard workout at pitch black darkness.
We had all day to do that workout.
Just getting you warmed up for Em.
We decided.
Had to get him warmed up for Emily.